You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
All right. Bob Strause, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Gabe?
Man, I'm glad to have you back.
Part two, right?
Part two. The first one we did was in the park there in the Rivers, and man, it was a lot of fun. And so decided it was too damn hot, so now we're indoors.
And the birds, no birds.
Yeah, chirping. Maybe we can. There may be a little phone app, play some bird chirping, kids playing around.
However you want to do it.
So, what have you been up to, man? Because I've been watching you on Facebook still, and I know when we last talked, you were you still running the NA there in George West?
Oh yeah, we my wife and I started that, and I guess 5 years ago, and it's been open every Saturday night, maybe a couple of nights during the pandemic. Only maybe 2 Saturdays that somebody didn't open it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's grown from Reagan, me, and Michael to, I don't know, 20 at least every.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good turnout, man.
Lots of hope dealt out of that meeting. We've got some people with 30 years clean time to 30 days to 30 minutes, some of them. And it's been a real joy to us, I think, to have that and be able to give to others what was freely given to us. And that's freedom from active addiction is the promise that they make you in Narcotics Anonymous. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using.
Yeah.
So it's outside of that, if you want to stop, you do a few simple things that are lined out by Narcotics Anonymous, then you got a pretty good shot at never using again if you practice the principles attached to it.
So last time we talked, you had mentioned how you wanted to be one of those 30-year guys, 35-year guy, clean, sober. How long have you been now?
1,998 days this morning.
Man, you're going to make me do math, aren't you?
5.34, something like that. Nearly 5.5 years.
That's good, man.
I couldn't go 5.5 minutes before without getting very uncomfortable.
How has been running the NA contributed to your sobriety as far as, is it something that it's been keeping you busy so it keeps you focused, or is it like coaching Little League where you're really enjoying helping others and that's kind of really your focus these days, or how's that contributed to your sobriety? Well,
we open our meeting. We don't run it really, you know what I mean? It's kind of like this, it's a worldwide thing of service is a big deal in staying clean. Sober. We do both fellowships very openly. Like we're not NA Nazis and AA Nazis, and it's like a lot of people, Nazis is probably a bad word, but it's the word they use. So we just, anybody who wants to get clean and sober, however, I don't care what you call it, just having that meeting has put us in a position to, at the very least, once a week be of service to somebody else and get out of our selfishness and do something for somebody else, which in turn does something for us. Is at the same time, that's the kind of the cool thing about the 12-step programs is that you help others, but by helping others, it helps you. And once you have your spiritual awakening as a result of working those steps, you try to carry that message to someone who hasn't heard that message and hasn't been given the freedom you have been given. It connects the circuit, you know what I mean? You don't get yours and take off and think you're fixed, and you stick around, and the guys that have 30 years are at the meeting, and that kind of hides itself in plain sight, you know? If you want to get 30 years, I think you got to keep coming to the meeting.
Yeah. And I know last time we talked, it's the individual has to want to do those 12 steps. Do you ever find yourself in a place where you see somebody that's real close to turning the corner do you ever take those steps to kind of help him turn that corner, or is it, hey, you've got to do it on your own kind of thing, or how does that work? I mean, because there's some gray area there where you want it to be organic, you want it to be that person's choice, but at the same time, I'd imagine somebody like you or somebody with 30 years that have seen it, and they're like, man, this guy's real close, real close to turning the corner. Is there something you guys do for people like that?
You let them figure out that it is the bottom. You know what I mean? Because we had to do that with our daughter. She, my God, can't you see your life's in shambles? Can't you see that you need this? Can't you see? And they just don't. And so you actually make it worse by trying to help.
Yeah.
So the way the answer to your question is, you get the hell out of the way and you make it between them and their higher power. And it's bottom is something that looks different on everybody, but it feels the same. It's it when you're there. And then you ask for the help, and then the help's right there. But you can't force. I don't know how to answer that unless you've been through it. You want everything in you is screaming, just push them over the edge so they get it. But it doesn't work like that. It takes what it takes, and you never know what it's going to take. People die, and never reach out for help.
I think for somebody like me, I've got a buddy recently who I don't know the particulars. I know the gist of it, but he ended up having to check himself into a place. Really didn't want to be there, but was doing it because he felt some obligation to others, which is not the reason to do things, I'd imagine. But at the same time, it's kind of like for somebody like me, I see somebody like that and I want to intervene. And I get what you're saying, and it obviously works because it's working. But part of me is, initially when I found out he was going to get out, I think he did like 30 days or something, and I think it was in Bastrop. Mm-hmm. And right away, my wife was talking to me about it because they were all mutual friends, and it was kind of like, well, he's going to have to go to NA and do some other things, I think there was even some therapy involved. And, right away, I'm sitting there and I'm going, man, I got to drive him to Bob. But at the same time, it's his process. And a lot of, now this is just me, armchair quarterbacking therapy guy. There's a lot in his life that took place when he was younger, and it really contributed to the person that he is today. And, there's been times where, I've heard people say before about like smoking pot, right? Mm-hmm. And I've heard people talk about, you hear people say all the time, man, I can't function without it. I needed it. And forever to me, I'm like, come on, man. Need it?
Yeah.
You need air. You need water. You need food and shelter. Maybe a lottery ticket every now and then. But the more we hung out, I was like, this guy needs it. We had gone to shooting range one day, and it was crazy because it was me, him, his wife, my wife. And we're shooting 9mm at target, not very far away. Everybody's hitting, doing decent. And he's sitting there and he's shooting at the target and he's not hitting it. And I remember thinking, that is the weirdest thing. I'm like, how are you not, he's not hitting the paper. And so he's one of these guys that he's very extreme about things. And I think that contributes to his success, but at times can also kind of contribute to his failures. And so trying to calm him down, hey man, just relax, just having fun, shooting. And it was like, well, I do a lot of things to train my body to be effective, and I don't feel like it's being effective. And so right away I'm watching him, and he's holding the gun, he's shooting, he's aiming, and I see this tenseness coming into his body, into his shoulders, into his arm, into his hands, his legs, his back, everything's getting super tight. So I go over there and I put my hand on his back, and I'm like, hey, man, put the gun down real quick and let's just shake it out, man, And so that all kind of comes back from we did a podcast together before, and a lot of that came from things that happened in his youth. The pressure to be successful, the pressure to be the best at what he's attempting to do. Mm-hmm. All this kind of came from that, And when he wasn't what he expected to be, or maybe what a family member expected him to be, it was a major crash, and it was the kind of thing that leads you to needing something to function for the day, mm-hmm. And so things happen, right? And so he gets to the point where he goes to Bastrop, and so I haven't talked to him since he got out. He got out probably, a month or two ago, and but he's the type of person that if he's going to focus on something, he's going to go there, and it's 100 miles an hour, And in conversations with him in the past, I would tell him, hey, man, he was so worried about making mistakes. And I'm fantastic at making mistakes. Fantastic. Actually, it almost feels good at times. Mm-hmm. But I always tell him, I'm like, man, why don't you just screw up in the beginning, I'd even tell him, just shoot the gun. Don't even worry about hitting the paper target. Mm-hmm. Just feel it. No, I want to see I want to hit right in the middle every time. No, man, just screw it. We'd even talk about softball and stuff like that. And he's like, man, I'm just so worried I'm going to hit a foul ball. And I tell him, dude, go up there when they throw you the pitch, turn your body in, just hit the foul ball. You're going to get another pitch. Mm-hmm. Just get it over with. Yep. It's like buying a brand new truck. It's like, just go scratch it. It's like buying a brand new motorcycle. Just drop it one time. Get it over with, man. It's going to happen. But I think all those things kind of contributed to that. And so I always get nervous with this guy because he's a good dude, great dude, but I always feel like, and it's kind of staying on him, that he's the type of personality that if he's going to run in the right direction, he's going to beat everybody. Mm-hmm. But if he's going to run in the wrong direction, he's going to beat everybody. Yeah. So there's always this want to kind of like, of course, check up on, which I'm sure there's nothing wrong with that. But there's always this like, hey man, let me put my arm around you. Let me lean you this way. Yeah. And it's like, I get that that's probably not the way to do it, but is that a negative thing to do?
Look, I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do anything. I think that we do it the best way we think that the best way we know how at any given time. It's if you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to help somebody, how is that wrong? Yeah. And so I've done things wrong. I'll do things wrong today. On the way up here, I did things wrong, but I've learned to cut myself some slack through the steps. Through this gave me this way of I don't want to talk about the 12 steps this whole time, but it's one of my favorite things to talk about because.
Okay, if you'd like to, I'd love to hear all of them.
Well, it's something you have to go through with another person that has a different perspective, because if you can't take yourself through it. They said if you sponsor yourself, your sponsor's an idiot. And so
I believe that.
It is, because it's the different perspective. If you're not emotionally tethered to something, you see it differently, right? If you don't have the emotion of that. I always use my dad for an example, right? My dad set me up from a very early age to think I wasn't worthy, right? That defined me for years. It was I distinctly remember at 5 years old-ish, him telling my mother he did not want me. Right? Wow. So what does that tell a 5-year-old kid? There's something wrong with you. Yeah. He wants this brother, but he doesn't want me. So there's something wrong with me. Well, so 5 to 52, right?
Yeah.
They say that until you're 7 years old, your brain stays in theta, which is this brain wave. That's where when they hypnotize you, that's when the hypnotist takes you into the theta brain waves. We're in beta right now because we're thinking and we're talking, we're having to come up with answers and stuff. So we're in beta. Alpha's kind of in between that. Delta's when you're in deep sleep, all this stuff. Anyways, so
I think Delta's my favorite.
Delta's good because theta is when you're dreaming it. But anyways, as they say, until you're 7 years old, you're in theta. So that means you're learning your responses to things. You're a sponge at that point. So at that time when that's downloaded into you that I don't want you, from the person that you're basically your God is your father, right?
Sure.
Your higher power just rejected you, right? So I had no self-esteem, yet I wanted to be heard. So if I'm scared to be heard, talk loud enough to be heard, I found out very early on, if I add a little something to me, like a little booze, a little drugs, all of a sudden I'm not too worried about being overheard, that's the wrong word, being too loud, it made me more comfortable. It made me not so insecure, right? So, and then I'm a drug addict and I'm an alcoholic and don't know it. So, if a little's good, a whole bunch has got to be really good.
Yeah.
So it set me up to, on this journey of never being quite high enough. You know what I mean? Like all my other friends, when they would call it a night, I was looking for ways to go to the next night and not stop. And so, my bottom came and I didn't even know it was at it. And that was kind of the point I was going to get back to. Whatever the reason is, I went to treatment to get out of trouble. I didn't want to stop using.
It wasn't you were ready.
No, I wasn't ready at all. In fact, I was pissed off because I got myself in enough trouble where I was having to stop using because I didn't know what to do. From 12 years old to 40 years, basically, I used as much as I could, as often as I could, looking back on it, right? Mm-hmm. It was just drinking with the boys, but I always drank more than the rest of the boys. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so whenever I went to treatment, it wasn't because I wanted help. It was because I wanted to get out of trouble so I could get back to using, get off my probation, do whatever I needed to do. But you never know when the light's going to go off. You know what I mean? It couldn't be for a completely different reason that you went to rehab. Maybe you are in trouble. Maybe it is a nudge from the judge, but you get there and all of a sudden you start hearing your story coming out of a bunch of people's mouths that don't know you. They're telling the exact same thing. Wow, maybe this is a disease. I never thought of it as a disease before. You know what I mean? It's dis-ease. I'm constantly at odds with something. And so the reason I love these steps so much is because it's given me a completely different perspective on life. Like it's allowed me to forgive. Forgive feels better than hate. Seems pretty simple when you say it now, but nobody ever told me that.
Is that the first step?
No, the first one's saying, like, we can cuss on here, right?
Oh man,
I'm fucked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm fucked here. I can't stop using fucking drugs, and I need help.
Yeah.
Right? I'm powerless over my addiction. My life is unmanageable. I'm sitting here at probation, fixing to fail another UA. That's not manageable. You know what I mean? I could wrap my head around that. Not the fact that my wife and I are living in my daughter's house, basically homeless if it wasn't for my kid, you know? So the second one is I came to believe that a power greater than me. I'm paraphrasing these.
Let's stay on one real quick.
Go for it.
So like, I'd imagine that one happens real early, even before you even start seeking help. Because I would think, and I'm kind of putting myself in people's shoes, which maybe I shouldn't do, but I'd imagine there's a point in our lives where we go, I'm fucked, you know? So I'm going to do whatever I want. You know, I'm gonna I'm going to drink, I'm going to use drugs, I'm going to overeat, I'm going to sleep around. Why not? The world's against me. And it almost seems like that's something that's a realization that potentially takes place before you even start seeking help. And so I would imagine there's got to be some weird thing that happens where it's no longer, hey, step one that I realized a long time ago, and that kind of just gave me the green light to go crazy. And now it's kind of like, no, it's step one, and I'm going to digest it mentally now instead of trying to cover it with something else.
Well, yeah, and it was sitting there knowing that for some reason I did not have the capability or the power to stop using long enough to pass a UA for my probation weekly. I could not stop. So I could, maybe I'm a little powerless, but is my life really unmanageable? Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty easy to see. You didn't have to convince me much of that. So the second step comes in, and it gives you some hope that there is a solution, right? Power greater than me could restore me to my sanity. I had a hard time with God at the time because he wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. So I could go to these meetings, right? And there's a group of people that's more powerful than me, that are more sane than I am, or at least they appear this way, that are telling me these things to do that I never thought about, that are making my life better. So I started believing in them. I started trusting them that this power here is going to help me get restored to my sanity. Three is turning my will and my life over the care of God as I understand him.
What do y'all do for folks that are, I'm a Christian, I believe in God. Mm-hmm. What do y'all do for folks that maybe don't have that Christian background?
There's a whole chapter in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous called We Agnostics. And I don't know, I'm not one of those people that can quote you exact lines and this is paragraph so-and-so of the big book.
But there's an avenue for those folks.
At the very least, yes, there is. And at the very least, I looked at the flow of life, right? Life's going to happen, it's going to happen whether I'm here or not. So
that's a humbling thought.
I need to trust it, that it's got a flow to it that Bob doesn't have much to do with, and it's had a flow for billions of years that Bob had nothing to do with, and it's going to continue to flow. I remember at Charlie's place watching the traffic on 37 go by and going, wow, they're not all stopping, even though, don't they see what I got going on here? Mm-hmm. Nobody knew what I got going on.
Nobody stopped to go, hey, Bob's on the porch.
No. And so I turned my life, over to the care of a God that I don't understand, that I'll never understand, you know what I mean? And I trusted that everything's going to be okay eventually, right? And the main thing is however it turns out, I need to learn how to be okay with it without getting loaded. That's the way I saw it. Getting loaded's bad for me. Getting loaded gets me in jail.
There's freedom in that. And one thing that I've always kind of thought about is like, I'm not, but I'm borderline narcissistic, I'd imagine. I've got T-shirts and stickers with my face all over them, Bob.
Yeah, so you're talking to the lead singer of the Parrots, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you understand. I mean, and it's funny because like we talked about this last time. It's, I always thought we were the shit, Bob. And when we lost Eddie, I realized we weren't what I thought it was. And I struggled with that because I thought we were the shit, And now that I've gotten older and I see things happening and, I almost enjoy it more because, it's that old saying, what do they say when you die, your job's going to replace you in 2 weeks, or in a week. And life is too, because there's times where I'm like, everything's about me, the podcast is about me. The stickers are about me. When I go home, I'm my dad's favorite. That's an argument. We can argue over that. But
I think you probably are.
I think I am. But there's all this. My wife loves me, even though sometimes she acts like she doesn't. But at the same time, it's kind of like after a while, the conversation I had with my nephew yesterday. I told him, "Hey, the future problems are yours, not mine." And after a while, not to say, "Hey, I'm done trying," because you try till you die, right? You're always in the fight. But at the same time, it's kind of like when you can realize, "Hey, man, the world's not going to stop because you stopped." It almost kind of encourages me to do more and live more because I'm doing it for myself,
That's so talking about the narcissist thing like that. So by now in our conversation here, okay, that's like I told my sponsor and her on the way up here, this is one of my favorite days because we're going to talk about Bob for 2 hours. Okay, but
and I'm going to be the one talking to Bob. I was super excited.
You're gonna totally get this. Now there's half of my brain is listening to Gabe and half of it's going, "You dumb fuck, you shouldn't have said that. That was stupid. That's not the way it is." That's, you know what I mean? So now I'm giving you half my attention because the other half's beating the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
So this is my life. It always has been. And when I took the drugs out of it, it's this different animal. I'm 52 years old, dude, like this little baby running around the world with this whole different perspective. I could beat myself up for a minute, but if you and I sit here and I drank me enough Shiner Box, I don't give a fuck no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm just saying whatever, that voice goes away. Now that voice doesn't go away. That voice doesn't get drowned like it used to. That voice is still there going, "You dumb fuck, why'd you say that? That was stupid as shit. You're not saying it right about the steps. You could have said it this way." And I have to focus in this whole different way. So what I try to do is focus on, I'm going to try desperately throughout this whole thing to focus on what you and I are talking about right now. What I said earlier is already on here. It ain't going nowhere. And I'll beat myself up for it no matter what I say. But if one person, if you and I say one thing on this that gets one guy to go, "You know what? Shit, man, that made a lot of sense to me and it helps me," then we win, right? I take my wins now as I'm very open. The Alcoholic and Narcotics Anonymous shit doesn't work for me. It works for some people and it was designed that way, I'm sure for a good reason. But I beat myself up so much my whole life. I've tried so hard to overcome myself my whole life that I know something now that is actually of use to people. I want to scream it from the top of this building, dude. If you are fucked up, call Bob and I will try to help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get to the other side of the street. I'm not going to keep it a secret how I got over there. If somebody doesn't know how to get over there, I'm going to scream, "Dude, walk over there. No. Yeah, go a little further. Turn. Yeah, go right there and then come over here. And I'll show you what I know. I'm going to, 5 years from now, I'll know a whole lot more, but right now I'll show you what I do know. And I will, one of my favorite stories I've ever read was about a doctor. And I tell this, I work with people in jail, right? I know we've completely abandoned the step talk.
No, we'll come back to it. I love jumping around.
I look at these guys in jail and they're hopeless, right? They don't know there's a solution that, just like I didn't know. I didn't know there was a way out. I didn't know there was this whole other room to the world and life that was there that I was right under my nose, but I didn't know anyways. So there's and I'll fuck these stories all up, but I'm going to get the gist of it. He takes a tube and puts water in it and he drops a mouse in this thing, right? And the mouse treads water and he times it. About 15 minutes in, the little fart gets tired and he sinks to the bottom. He reaches in, pulls him out, drives the little bastard off and lets him sit there a minute, and then he takes him and drops him back in it. How long do you think he swam around this time?
Less.
About 48 hours.
Oh, really?
Why? Because he had hope that guy was going to pull him back out. So when that hope opened up this energy, the little...
I was just thinking about how out of shape I am.
Yeah, exactly. But if somebody gives a glimmer of hope to somebody that doesn't have hope, it gives them energy they didn't know they had. It gives them a perspective they didn't. I've watched, there's a 20-year-old kid who I met at the Atascosa jail. the lawyers take them, and if they ask for help, they'll refer them to me and my colleague, and we'll go visit with them, kind of discern whether they're just trying to get out of trouble or if they really need help. And so we visit with them for a while. This kid was in enough trouble where he wasn't going to leave, so I had, a few days months to deal with him. The whole time I need help, sir. I need help. 20 years old, been shot in the head by mistaken identity. And I told him that story, and he started crying. And he said, I got a kid, And he said, I said, tell me about your parents. And he said, my mom's she's been lying to me. She's a heroin addict, and she's in the same jail somewhere. They just told me. Dad, prison. Gangbanger. Has he always been in your life? No, my stepdad. Where's he at? In prison, And so they come along. He's everywhere he's turned his whole life has led to this. At 20 years old, and he's got a kid, and he's begging for help. So the legal system wants to throw him away, right? Just get him out of here. They try to give this kid 8 years, right? We're going to fucking throw you away for 8 years. I see a little kid begging for help, right? So he comes, we go to court the other day, and I'm able to testify.
On this guy's behalf?
Mm-hmm. And I bring in a guy that's a witness from Nueces County. He runs the substance use treatment facility in Nueces County. It's part of their probation. Anyway, it's just, God, I'm losing sleep over this shit. You know what I mean? And I get called in I'm able to, just with my experience, tell this prosecutor 20 grams is not an egregious amount of dope, dude. That's personal use, just like the kid says, And they try to throw this kid away. Well, anyways, we end up winning. And so had I stayed anonymous and I don't tell it, and I go to these meetings and I don't tell anybody about it, I miss opportunities to help somebody, you know what I mean? So I've been very loud about it. And from when I got my 30 days, bam, all over Facebook, hey man, you need to keep that shit to yourself, and be anonymous. I say fuck that. Why would I want to not help somebody because somebody may find out that I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, you know what I mean? So the things that we do now are all service driven, and
what is the name of the I guess I don't want to say company, but what the stuff you're doing now? What organization is that?
Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. It's the second largest public legal aid nonprofit in the nation. There's two of us that are reentry peers, you call it. So we had a meeting the other day with the Bronx Public Defender's Office. It's called Holistic Defense. It's a new thing, right? You get this in Bexar County, you get this in Nueces County, you get this in El Paso, you get this in Harris County, but George West, McMullen, Refugio, Goliad, they don't get it.
And what is that exactly?
There's these services for mental health.
Oh, gotcha.
These services for substance use. So my point about this kid was that had I not been there working in this capacity, he would have been put into the state penitentiary for 8 years. No one would have spoke on his behalf. So they have these drug courts and they have these things in these big cities all over. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring some form of that into George West, into Live Oak County. And so what does that take? That takes me, who has no experience whatsoever dealing with courts other than going through the courts, just going, there's got to be a way, right? So we've kind of devoted what started out as a meeting, hey, I'm in recovery, hauling people to rehab, has just become like this calling. To my wife and I talk, that's all we talk about. It's the weirdest thing. So we started a nonprofit called South Texas Recovery Foundation that we are in the process of finding our way to a building. We're either going to build one or we're going to buy one. We're not sure yet. But there's, here I'm beating, half that brain of mine's going, you're screwing this all up. We get up every day thinking, how can we help somebody? And that's a unique thing for us because we got up every day going, how am I going to get more drugs 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago? How am I going to get over on somebody? So now it's become a calling like nothing else. Like the band, I remember playing in France, dude. I always tell this story, but I remember looking out at all those thousands of people in France and going, huh, I thought that'd feel a lot better than it does. You know, it doesn't. Pulling the mouse out of the tube gives me that feeling. And I want more of it. It feels good. It feels better than the drugs. So we've made it our mission to bring in, there's people with mental health issues. This system is broke as fuck, dude. I mean, it is broke. There's kids, there's an 18-year-old boy in one of our jails that he's deemed incompetent to stand trial. He'll sit there for 1 year to 2 years waiting for a bed to open up at the state hospital for them to begin the process of restoring him to competency. There's something wrong with that, dude. An 18-year-old kid just sitting there just getting worse, you know what I mean? And until these things no one knows it's going on. And so we're put in this position now in these rural communities. It's got to start somewhere, and George West knows me, right? I can go to Atascosa County, nobody knows who I am and what I was. I can go here and I've got a little bit of, well, if he's doing it, maybe he does know because he was really messed up, you know. Bob was a pain in the ass for a long time. And so I think it starts here at our home. I don't really even know where I'm going with that other than you asked what it is I'm doing now, and it's trying to figure out a way to give hope to people that don't have hope. You know what I mean? And the ones that are ready, we try to get them somewhere. We try to help them. We try to give them an opportunity to get their shit together. Like I've got at 52 years old, and now our daughter's we've got 5.5 years. Sam's got almost 18 months now. She works in this field. Life is good on levels that I had no idea how good it would feel to be of service.
Yeah.
I think
that's part of what makes, I think that's what people lack, you know, especially in today's world. You know, there's a lot of focus on the individual me, right? Mm-hmm. And we tend to not extend ourselves past that. We tend to not say, hey, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna give some extra effort and try and help somebody else out. You turn the other cheek, you see these weird videos of people in trouble and people filming it and not helping, and it, you know, there's this weird dynamic there that we've kind of gotten away from being part of humanity, right? So it's kind of like, you know, even with the things you do, that, you know, it's kind of difficult because I hear you talking about this and I'm like, fuck yeah, go Bob. At the same time, you're doing something that it's hard to convince somebody to do that, man, because you're putting yourself in a realm with people that are severely damaged, who are professional at taking advantage of situations and people wanting to lend a hand. You know, you see that happen regularly in the streets. You see that happen, you know, downtown San Antonio. I go to a gas station in downtown San Antonio, and I like to watch my environment, right? And you go, and you can see everything happening. You can see, I got to watch this guy. Because this guy's standing at the very end of the parking lot, and he's watching everybody. and you literally see the eyes moving, and they might be walking through the gas station parking lot, and you see them go, no, not that guy, no, not that person. And then they end up at somebody, and they're asking for money or change or something. Or, you know, I had a guy one time get pissed off because I wouldn't buy his cologne. He never got out of his truck. I don't know what he was doing.
His cologne?
His cologne. He had bottles of cologne. Hey, buy this. I was like, no, I don't want to buy your cologne. He got upset about it. He got pissed because I wasn't buying whatever he had to sell. You know, walked around the other side of the truck, just stay away from him, stood by the driver's side door. I didn't have a gun on me, but hopefully he thought I had one because he ended up driving off. But you see these people that, due to the way they were raised, due to the way their life experiences, they've learned to survive by feeding on somebody else. You know, and to be able to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go to these people and I'm gonna extend myself, right? And I might get bitten, you know, but I'm gonna try and provide something that they haven't had before, which is hope. You know, and I don't care if you're addicted to alcohol, drugs. If you're a cancer patient, if you fell off a roof and broke your back. When we lose hope, like, it's a wrap, man. And I think a lot of times that's what people don't. That's what people don't understand about how, you know, believing in God, right? Let's say you're going to believe in God. You believe in God because there's that hope. You believe there's something bigger than you, and there's that hope that, hey, whether I'm going to pray to him or whether I'm going to just believe in him, there's opportunity there that I don't see a fix to the problems that I'm going through right now. But if I keep pushing, then there's an opportunity to get out of the situation I'm in. You know, when you're talking about these young guys, you know, it's funny because, you know, sometimes when I think about you, Bob, I go, man, Bob, like with my buddy, man, I need to take him to Bob.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times I sit there and it's kind of naive of myself because I go, Bob's got all the answers. Let me take him to Bob. You know, but it's like, but what I love about talking to you is I go, Bob doesn't have the answers. He's working through it himself.
Yep.
And what that does to me is that gives me hope because I go, oh, Bob doesn't have the answers. Bob's just working through it. And when I see that, I go, well, there's things that I can work through.
Yep.
You know, and it's, you know, I'm so screwed up because there's times where I'm kind of like, well, you know, what was the bottom? What was the trigger? What was the line? What was the, you know, when did this happen? What is that time for? Like, maybe it's just the way my mind works. I like beginnings and ends and numbers, and I like structure.
Me
you know,
too.
But it's like that's not what life is. You know, it's the continuous journey. You know, and to say, you know, you're always going to be an addict for the rest of your life. You know, and I hear people say that all the time, and it's kind of like, well, that makes sense because there's not a point where it's like, hey, I'm no longer an addict. This I hit on November whatever 19 whatever I stopped being an addict, and it's like, no, it's always the journey. You know,
the day that I say that I'm cured is the day I stop working on myself. So, we always tell the boys that they're good baseball players, and they beat themselves up but no one's going to bat 1,000 forever. No one's going to bat 0 forever. You're always somewhere in the middle of that. One day you're going to bat 750. One day you're going to bat 250. We love you either way. And once you realize that life is ups and downs, otherwise it'd be boring, right? I mean, what? Once I admitted that I was a drug addict to my mother that I'd hid so carefully all those years.
Did she not know?
She knew she didn't know what level of drug addict I was.
'Cause parents usually have an idea.
I don't think anybody really knew very much. I mean, it's hard to be an intravenous drug user. You don't go around, even, I think even the junkie's ashamed he's a junkie. So no, but once I told my mom that, I didn't care who I told. And then once I found out that telling people can actually help people, then I really didn't care who I told. So I'll tell anybody that I crammed a needle in my arm as often as I could, every day, unless I was out. And hopefully somebody goes, well, shoot, I ain't that bad,
I think what also happens, though, is like, we come from a small town, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say that's the only reason, but there's plenty of reason and there's a lot of people we know that are private about things. Now, don't get me wrong. On the flip side of that, you got all these people that put all their business on social media, and it's kind of like, come on, man, you don't have to put everything out there. But at the same time, it's like there are things that it's kind of, and I get that we get embarrassed about things. We don't want people in our business or whatever, but it's kind of like the importance of letting people know, hey, man, I fuck up.
There's a quilt we're sewing together, and it's got little pieces all in it. It was in that reading this morning, right? I'm told Reagan I was going to read some of this. So it's weird, like how sometimes these meditations will pop up, and they're just so spot on.
Snap.
Well, it's a friend of mine named Jerry C. I guess he don't give a fuck. Jerry Cotton. He puts these up every day, and I love them. But it's like they have this weird way of always making sense, right? So today, it kind of went along with that song. Then I may sing that song next, just because we're talking about this. Okay. So it's daily meditation. I don't even know who it's from. It says, my life has been a tapestry of rich and royal hue, an everlasting vision of the ever-changing view. A wondrous woven magic in bits of blue and gold, a tapestry to feel and see, but impossible to hold. And that was Carole King, right? Old 1970s singer or something. I don't know if it's a song. I don't know where that came from. But it says, our lives are a patchwork quilts of mismatched fabrics, all stitched together by an invisible seamstress. The tattered blood-red scraps of quarrels, the beige of pastry crust baked on Saturdays in our grandma's kitchen that always smelt so sweet, the brilliant colors of our happy moments, picnics, sunsets, and laughter. All these are necessary pieces of the tapestry of our lives, even our cold, white doubts and emptiness. All the colors of life sewn together with the green thread of growth. We are a mixture of feelings and experiences. Often we want to cut away a square of painful memory, but without it, our quilt will lose its beauty, for contrast would disappear. If a piece is removed, the rest is weakened and incomplete. Perception. I am an accumulation of everything that has ever happened to me in my entire life, and I'm grateful for all of it because it's who I am today. Think about this. How well can we accept any pain we feel today as part of our own beauty? So I had a guy sit down, and I think I even may have said this in the last time we talked. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. It took everything that happened prior to this, even all the stupid shit I just said on this podcast that I wished I hadn't at some point. It took all of that to get here, and that's the happiest I've ever been. So how can I look back on any of that? The needle, my dad saying he didn't want me, the failed UAs at probation. I have to look at it all with gratitude because it was a necessary piece to get to sit here today and talk to my old neighbor Gabe who took that ugly ass dog.
Reggie was the shit, man.
Reggie was the shit. Hey, how about that for perception? I thought Reggie was ugly. That's the best fucking dog that ever hit the face of the earth.
He was the best dog on the planet, man.
So,
You know, this is one thing that I love talking to you about, is you don't give a shit, Bob.
I don't anymore.
Because you've been through it. You've gotten dirty, and you're on the other side, and you look back, and you're in a rare place that I wish wasn't rare. And the reason I like having you on is because I like the shit out of you, but also because your life experiences are experiences that a lot of people don't go through, but a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And when you're so candid about it, when you talk about the ugliness and the things that are the dirty laundry, right? Mm-hmm. There's people that'll listen and that'll go, "Hey man, I'm in a similar spot where Bob was 20 years ago."
That's the whole point of it. Gabe.
You know, there's a kid somewhere who hasn't yet started going through the shit that he's gonna go through.
Yep.
You know, and in 20 years from now, you know, hopefully we'll be old men sitting on a porch somewhere. But at the same time, you'll have this kid going through the stuff going, man, there's no end to it. And it's like, wait, there may not be a complete end. Maybe you'll struggle forever, because we're all going to struggle. Yep. And that's what's funny about how people like to be so private about things. And I get that, because there's things that I want to be private about.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, share your shortcomings. Share the shit that you know, even if it's just hey, you know what? I used to go through this. Share it, because there's people that need to hear that. And today, there's people who need to hear that 5 years from now, you know, and people need to know, you know what? I do all the same shit Bob was doing 20 years ago. Yep. And I want to be dead, you know, and to hear Bob go, I'm as happy as I've ever been with all the good experiences I've had. I'm at the happiest point in my life. You know, for somebody to hear that, they wouldn't hear it if Bob was just hiding it. You know, if, like you said earlier, if you were just kind of putting it away, going, you know, even just kind of smiling and keeping things yourself, saying, man, I'm so proud of where I'm at. You know, fucking tell people that. You know, yell it. Say, I'm so happy to be where I'm at, like you just said. You know, but at the same time, to be able to say I was not doing well back then. And, you know, these were things that contributed to it for me. Mm-hmm. Not to get into that weird people's truth thing, because I hate that, you know. But at the same time, it's like these are experiences that affect people differently. Yep. You know, I'll give you an example. You were talking about having that side of your brain earlier that's going, man, Bob, shut the fuck up, you know. And it's like, for me, you know, everybody's wired different. Mm-hmm. So for me, when I say something stupid, the only thing that goes through my head is, man, Dad's going to yell at me later. But typically, like, I think it's hilarious. You know, I've been doing and saying stupid shit forever, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was a kid, Barbara Joe and Eddie were the super athletes, you know? So I loved watching them play. You know, I was lazy. It was hot outside. I didn't want to get dirty. You know, I didn't have that drive they did athletically, you know, but I was hilarious, you know? So for me, it was kind of like, well, if I do stupid shit, people are going to laugh at me, and that's hilarious, you know? So even now, my wife's like, I can't believe you said that to that lady, you know? Or like, we go to a restaurant, a good-looking dude, we went to go eat with some friends the other day. I was like, this guy came up dressed nice, you know, everything was, you are beautiful, you know? And my wife's like, why you do that?
You told the dude?
Yeah. I was like, you're beautiful. And so every now and then there'll be a real pretty waitress, and just being stupid, you know, I would like, oh my God, she's beautiful. And I was, babe, can we take her home? You know? And my wife's like, why do you say stupid? You know? So for me, I have fun in the fuck up. Yeah. You know, for me, and granted, I've never had the experiences that you had, you know? I've never had the lows that you had, never had the highs that you had. But for me, my screw-ups, I'm being on this podcast, like, I can't think of a single thing that I would regret saying. I'm sure there are out there. But it's like, I would say it, and like we talked about earlier, I love that it's, you know what, if we want to go, you know what, let's stop talking about that, let's change subjects. Yep. I'm cool with that, you know? And I don't dwell in those things, you know, but there's people that do. You know, and there's people that need to hear, you know, man, at least I used to go watch Parrots. I used to hear about their music. I didn't know Bob went through that shit. And I didn't know Bob's doing this now. I didn't know Bob's capable. And after a while, it's like, well, if there's examples for people to view, and there's examples of people to kind of look toward, and I'm not saying going, hey, do everything Bob did. Look where Bob's at now. But to be able to go, hey, there's a possibility of getting out of this hole. And there's a possibility somebody's going to come pull that mouse out of that tube with water. Mm-hmm. You know? Yep. Let me keep pushing. Yep. You know? And that in itself is bigger than what we give it credit for. A lot of times we go, what did I really do? Did I really, help somebody? Well, you know what? Fuck yeah, you did. Yeah. And everything's interconnected. Everything's touching something else, right? And it's like when you push on something, it's going to move something else. Just like you pushing to help that guy not go away for 8 years. At some point, maybe 20 years from now, that fucking kid might have an opportunity to do something for somebody else. And it all, even though that kid may not go, man, that was because of Bob. Yeah, that kid may not even remember what you did for him. Yep. But at the same time, it stems from little steps that we all take in life. It's little steps that we all take having this interaction. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine who talked about his alcoholism. I had a friend of mine reach out to me shortly after that going, that I really needed to hear that because I have a problem at times with alcohol, and I didn't feel like there was, like it could end. And it's like, we didn't do anything but shoot the shit on a fucking podcast that 3 people listened to. Yep. She was just one of them that day. Yep. But that's the important stuff, man. And that's why I love that you're so open with things, that you're so candid with things. It's easy for us to go, man, I don't want to talk about the ugly stuff. And that's all right. I mean, I never want to push anybody to talk about things that they're going to go, man, I regret that. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not the best editor, so it all stays in, Bob.
Oh, I love it. So let's segue. So there's a song that I wrote. It was probably right before I got sober. And it was a perspective. So I was thinking about my great granddad, Daddy Tom. All right, there was a song about him because I look very much up to him. He was happy all the time. I love that about him. And as a kid and as an adult, I just marveled at his good mood he was in all the time. So, and we would get together on Sundays at his house right behind Hardgraves down the street. We would get together with my granddad's side every Sunday and have lunch. And then Uncle Lynn, who's Seth and them's granddad, there was 2 sons. There was Uncle Lynn and there was Bob. So one Sunday, Uncle Lynn's group, which was Seth and Jimmy and Kathy and all them would go over there, and then we would go. So he had his sons there every Sunday as we were kids growing up till he died. And then as soon as he died, the whole thing disintegrated, right? We stopped coming around each other.
He was the hub of the wheel, man.
Right. So I always thought he's watching that, and it got to bum him out. What happened to the family? They're Strausses, but they're just, it's kind of like just a name. It doesn't mean anything. Like there's not a family that gets together anymore. And so as time goes on, everybody spreads out, and then people start dying. Inheritances start happening. You know how that shit goes. That's when the bad feelings start. So somebody gets this, somebody doesn't get anything, blah, blah, blah. So there's some resentments build up. And so this family that used to get together and laugh every Sunday is now can take each other or leave each other. You know what I mean? And I always thought about Daddy Tom seeing this stuff. So I wrote this song from my perspective. It's my truth, right? It's the way I saw things play out with my father and my grandparents. And I wrote it. And so she records it. Like I've never recorded it, but she puts it on live Facebook and some of my family sees it. And literally blocks me out of their life over how dare you say that. Well, it's true. Yeah, but you can't say that. Yeah, but it's true. It's what happened. So at some point, I've gone back and forth about it, how important am I to these people anyway, if it's that easy, you know what I mean? To speak the truth. And so I think we were talking about on the way up here that generations, they miss an opportunity to say, you know what? They were just human beings. They made mistakes. They did things that they shouldn't have done. And what my grandparents did caused my dad to act a certain way, to treat me a certain way. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's just this lineage of sickness.
Right.
That if it doesn't get brought out at some point and discussed, what good was it? What good was it to be a human being and no one knew it? You carry this perception around that's bullshit, that you're something you're not. So that's why I'm so open and honest, because there's healing comes from it for other people from my honesty, right? You're not that fucking big a deal. Your family's name is not that fucking important. You know what I mean? So if somebody did something that you're ashamed of,
don't do that thing.
Why are you ashamed of it? They were just a human being having a human experience. And babe, grab it. So we're gonna segue. That's called a segue.
Okay.
You asked me to do a song.
Yeah.
And I've never recorded this. And luckily the people that this will piss off aren't gonna listen to it anyway. So I don't know how it's gonna sound. You wanna try it?
Let it rip, man.
Put this down a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. In 1921, my great-granddaddy moved down here from Arkansas. He made an honest living with a hammer and a saw. He saw 5 generations breathing air at the same time in that same old dried up South Texas town. He'd smile as bright as the sun shines when the family'd gather round. Never asked for much of nothing. Maybe a ride on a rainy day. And I loved being around him. I soaked up everything he'd say. He'd say, do right by your name and keep your head down and work hard. Yeah, then the rest will just tag along. And if you always do the right things, hell, you can't do no wrong. We tore it all to pieces. We swept it out like dirt on the floor. And the name remains the same, but it ain't much of a family anymore. My granddad worked all the time. Somewhere he'd lost his pride. Someone told me Granny had done him wrong. She had a wilder side. Yeah, my dad was a drunk, never around, he ran himself in the ground. Cheated and he lied. Lord, he lied. I never got past what he'd done to Mom. We hadn't talked for years and years, and he died. He tore it all to pieces, and he swept it out like dirt on the floor. The name remains the same, but it ain't much of a family anymore. Yeah, the name remains the same, but it ain't much of a family anymore.
Beautiful song, man.
Thank you.
Very beautiful song.
Steve Littleton played keyboards for Stoney LaRue, and we played it when her and I lived at the Lost and Found in New Braunfels, and I played it, and back to the no self-esteem thing, you know, playing this for Stoney LaRue's. Now he plays for The Departed. And he sit there for a minute after I got done, and he said, dude, if you don't record that, I will hunt you down and kill you. And I said, wow, that's probably the coolest compliment I ever got.
Better record it.
I think we just did.
Well, you know, you talked about your grandfather being a happy guy.
Great-grandfather. Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, you think about the things that they lived through. And the older I get, the more when I see somebody who's really happy, it makes me think of some shit that you go through to be that happy. You know, it's almost like there's times where you've got to endure really ugly things to where you can finally go, you know what?
Contrast, dude.
Little shit ain't going to hurt me anymore.
It's that contrast. It's being, once you're down so low, once you hit your bottom, the bottom feels awful at the time, but man, thank God I hit a bottom. Thank God I was a drug addict. Thank God. I don't know. To find out at 52, when I thought I knew it all, that I didn't really know shit.
Yeah.
Everything I knew, I had to unlearn and learn. And that's kind of a cool thing, dude. It's like starting life all over again. You know what I mean? And I've had some pretty crazy shit happen in 5.5 years. Like 2 years ago at this very day, I was unconscious on a ventilator, fighting for my life, and didn't even know I was fighting for my life, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the last time. It was a Wednesday, and then it was a Monday to me. I'd like to say I saw the light, and God sent me back on for this giant mission and shit. I don't remember nothing. It was just like a fucking nap. So, but I tell you what I do know is that right now, my Facebook memories are a weird thing now on February. I mean, from August the 5th through, I don't know, 10 days or something. But especially the 5th to the 10th or something, to see the outpouring of people saying, "Wake up, Bob." That was like this big thing. "Wake up, Bob." No one knew if I was coming back. And if I did, it was probably going to be, I was going to have to be put into a home or something. You know what I mean? It was because everything that had happened would indicate that I was going to be, at the very least, having to learn some basic shit all over again. And I woke up wondering what the fuck just happened. And just like this, I was kind of hoarse from the ventilator, I guess, but no damage. So,
what does that do to you when you see that post? Because I remember it, and I was like, I couldn't believe how many people were commenting.
I know.
What does that do to you when you can kind of sit there and go look at something like that? You know, you always wonder how many people are going to come to my funeral. You know, that's almost a glimpse. Right?
Well, and I'll tell you what else is really weird, and I don't know if we talked about this last time or not, but I I have the DVD of this thing, right? I was mad because I didn't have the out-of-body experience and all that. So, but I've got this DVD from the body cam of the first responder. So I got to watch her
Walk up to you?
respond to my death.
Wow.
I got to see what my daughter acted like if I died. I got to see my granddaughter's father, Dylan, literally speechless and crushed, looking down at me, blue in the face and
Wow, that's
unresponsive.
crazy.
So it's to see her can't even get a sentence out, trying to talk, doing this kind of stuff. It's too long. It's been too long. My sponsor.
That's heavy.
Dude, my sponsor seeing it, my sponsor, who part of his job is to pronounce people dead on the side of the road, showing up while they're in the process of trying to bring me back, wishing they would just stop, because at that point he thought they were just desecrating my body. I mean, I was that far into this thing, 30 minutes. Andrew, how do you say his last name? Castellano, this EMT that would not stop. You can see him on the DVD, so tired from doing compressions that he's using one arm, and he just will not stop. And so he asked the guy timing that's apparently you got 30 minutes to try to resuscitate somebody. And he says time, 28:45. Had a minute and 15 seconds left. No pulse, nothing. He goes one more time, number 9 of the paddles. Clear, kapoom. Holy shit, we got a heartbeat. Everybody's like, what? Jim, or my sponsor's like, he said he literally thought, oh shit, no man, he's gonna
Brain damage.
He's gonna be fucked up, and you know what I mean. He was not that he didn't want me to come back, but just as this guy's, there's no way.
What version?
So and while I'm in the hospital, she's at his house, and he's trying to prepare my mother. I know this is a hard time to talk about this, but we've got to start thinking. Bob that we talked to last ain't coming back. And she wouldn't hear it. She's like, "Fuck you," Nope. He's gonna be fine. And okay, and I was. So I sat with the doctors a year later, and he's like, "Mr. Strause, we've run every test we got on you, and we don't know."
Yeah.
And I said, well, what I do have as far as evidence is I had said that I would do whatever it took for my daughter to get clean. That day, she had written her this long letter because we were trying to take custody of the granddaughter. So I said I would do whatever it took. So back to God, I actually had more evidence for my theory than the doctors did for theirs. He said the fact that you survived what happened to you in rural America is astronomical. Okay? Couple that with the fact that you had no damage done. You basically woke up like this, makes it beyond astronomical. So maybe I buy into your whole miracle thing, We're going to put this defibrillator on you just in case it happens again, which is kind of cool because everybody should have one. If my heart does whatever it did last time, it'll
wake it up.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how long it'll. I don't know. I said, "What happens if I'm going 80 miles an hour?" He goes, "I don't know." So I'll live to see myself
You
crash.
tell me if that happens.
So, life can change literally in a second. So, I still struggle with living in the now. I still struggle with gratitude. I still struggle. I should be dead by all counts. You know what I mean? I really should be dead.
Well, what a testament to first responder for, I mean,
We
for
still talk.
30 minutes.
We still talk.
I get that's the extent of their time, but, had he stopped at 28,
If it wouldn't have been somebody that wasn't that gung ho, and Ryan, the cop, he told me, he said, "You're the first dead person I've ever came on as a cop." Big old arms, dude, like big bodybuilder. He was moving enough. He was, those chest compressions mattered. He said that he's the one who gave me the body camera footage. He said that they told him in the military, if you ain't cracking cartilage, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
So you can see him. I mean, when he's doing it, the compressions, I'm freaking moving, you know what I mean? Like he's getting some volume going through there. And so a few things came from that. I got it on DVD so I could see them, how much they love me.
Do you ever watch it again?
Yeah, I got it on my phone right now. If you got the stomach for that after we get through, I'll show you a little bit of it.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
Some people want to watch it, some don't. So my mom, she said, "Oh, I want to see it." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Bob, I'm your mother, and I want to see it." And so she came over to the house, and we put it on the TV, and we watched it. It doesn't bother me anymore because I'm here. I mean,
Right.
I know the outcome. That day, as dark and ugly as that day was, turned out to be. It's not the same, but it's kind of like when I was sitting in the back of that Live Oak County Deputy Tahoe with my 8-ball of dope laying on the hood going, fuck. It seemed awful at the time, but it turned out to be something really wonderful. So here Sam sits clean, and our families, she's helping people now, and it's life is good, man, and it came out of the ashes of some shit that looked burnt down, It looked bad. But now it teaches us that feelings are temporary. Don't do some permanent shit for a temporary feeling, you know what I mean? It causes us to pause when agitated, like it says in just Upon Awakening or On Awakening or whatever in the big book. It talks about pause when you're agitated, hold on. Before you fucking go say some horrible shit, just chill out for a minute and see what happens and kind of work it through. Play the tape through to the end, And so I'm every day I try to be a little bit kinder, more tolerant person, mostly to myself. Now I'm like, I got that song out of the way. I'm not worried about fucking it up on the podcast, so now I'm not beating myself up so bad, and my inner talk's gone down. It's chilled out. It don't really matter, you know what I mean? We're just sitting here chilling, and I can tell by the way if she's nodding if I'm doing okay, and then she's like, if I see her go,
I'm taking notes from her too. I see it out of my peripheral.
You see what I mean?
And when I say something, if I see her nodding her head, I'm like, fuck yeah,
that's right, dude. So she's been watching me do these radio things, and it's great, man. Life's good, Gabe, and being able to come back to George West and make a difference like we're trying to do. You know what I mean? I have a lot of shit I want to do I will never be able to retire. I'm 57 right now. I want to start a drug court in Live Oak County, and we're working on it. My job is like giving me the leeway to do that. She's out in McMullen County working for Camino Real that I used to work for.
Yeah, I remember that.
She works now as a healthcare navigator, which means she takes people she does anything from taking them to chemotherapy to taking them to diabetes cooking classes. You know what I mean? She's got all this leeway to be of service, and it's some people that are trying to do the right thing, and for us to be part of this building of it. Jim always says, if you die tomorrow, it needs to be able to keep going. So don't, too many times programs die with people.
Yeah.
So we're trying to build something that gives us some of these opportunities for healing and services that the big cities have. I don't want to move to the fucking big city, but I'd like to be able to get help for mental health here and help for, there's a lot of money out there, and there's grants and all these things. So we're We want to open a rehab. We want to open sober living. We want to start a drug court. We got all these things to do that'll keep us busy. And really and truly, that's part. I can't do any of it if I start shooting up dope again, right?
Right.
So it's this weird little. It's okay that's one of the reasons I stay clean, because I can't do it if I'm high. I can't be going and helping people get clean and being fucked up myself. So life's turned into this. All this chaos and disorder coming up was leading into something. It was forming a shape. You know what I mean? That we had no ability to see. I always say God's got a drone, and we're in the brush. You know what I mean? And we just keep moving. We just keep moving. And now we're sitting here in these positions to do things. We find ourselves with imposter syndrome, sitting in board of directors, attorneys like listening to what I say, like I'm part of the litigation team, stuff like that. It doesn't make any sense. 5.5 years ago, what are you going to be doing in 5.5 years, Bob? It wouldn't have been any of this shit. There would have been not a podcast with Gabe Molina. It wouldn't have been working for attorneys. It wouldn't have been opening our own recovery center. It wouldn't have been any of this stuff. But it's cool, dude. I don't know what's going to happen in 5.5 years. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
We went to Austin the other day, and it was a guy has this thing. It's called the Living Undetoured Tour. He lost his son to a fentanyl overdose. 1 year later, he lost his wife she drank herself to death. Like he said, some mountains were just too tall to climb. She couldn't get over it, that they'd lost their son. So he said that he was a very successful business guy. You can Google it, livingundetoured.org. Anyways, he said, he told his kids, we got two paths. We can either get bitter or we can get better. He said, I'm going to get on the road to better. I'm going to try to take this and make good out of it. I want y'all to join me, but I won't make you. I won't tell you how to grieve the losses. You do it how you want. So him and his kids, the boys that are left, they're doing a 95-day tour to bring awareness to mental health. Because now the fentanyl, we were talking about the fentanyl earlier. This shit is a game changer, right? So you don't have to be the heroin addict to overdose anymore. You can be the kid at a party that drank enough to say, fuck it, I'm going to give me one of those pills. And it's been pressed with fentanyl in it, and they die. So this is taking this.
Well, they put it on weed. They put it on everything.
I'm going to have to look into it at some point. I just know it's an epidemic, and it's. So a lot of people, it said, what does it say on the back of the shirt? Something when it gets personal. Purpose becomes passion when it becomes personal. So taking that horrible thing, using it to save countless lives, all of a sudden gives maybe somebody, it happened for a reason. Yeah. And you either get bitter that I'm a poor drug addict whose dad didn't want him, or I get better and I try to help some people. And I love being useful.
Yeah.
There's plenty of musicians, you know what I mean? There's plenty of people that can play songs, but there's not enough people who take their life and use it as a life raft for others, you know what I mean? So I hope that her and I, being so open about it, will lead others to don't be so guarded with your secrets, because your secrets might save a motherfucker's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I cuss too much still. That's okay.
Dad counts all of mine, so.
Well, does he?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I
Sorry,
think.
Dad.
So I love you, and man, I fucking love you.
Well, that's how you get the that's how you get the passion through.
It hits different, right? I mean, to me, a well-placed, and I place too many of them. But
well, you and I are both passionate guys, and I think that's the reason for all the swearing. But if we didn't, then we wouldn't be authentic.
I don't cuss as often as I used to, and I don't feel like I
don't cuss as often as I'd like. That's my problem.
Now, see, if I was being honest, I'd say that too.
You know, it's interesting because I'm going to sound super cliche right now. but it's the fire that forges the steel, man.
It is.
And if you didn't have these experiences, and I'm not just talking the ones later in life, but all the way back to when you were 5 years old, you know, you wouldn't be who you are to be able to put yourself in a position, because the strength that it takes to get through those issues and through those addictions, you know, they have strengthened you, because the new path that you're taking, the new things you're going into, they require strength as well. You know, they're going to require a lot of
at the least a hard ass head.
Yes, because you're gonna get. I'm sure there's gonna be doors closed. I'm sure there's gonna be lost opportunities. I'm sure there's gonna be, you know, maybe funding that doesn't quite come through. And it's like, but you still got to maintain that strength that you've earned, you know, through all your life experiences. You know, you posted a picture the other day that had the whole family, and I forgot how many generations of you'd posted. So many generations of what was the word I was looking for? Recovery or something.
The lineage of Troy, Tiffany,
yes,
Sam, you.
And it's like, that's, to me, like when I see stuff like, I try and take myself out of things, right? I try not to look at things, and I think I'm fairly good at it, right? I try not to I get super emotional. So that's why I think I've gotten to the point now where I can kind of take myself out of something and look at something and go, no, this is what it is. Quit being emotional about it. And then I'll put myself back in and I'll see it with different eyes. But when I see that, it's like, to me, like, that's the legacy, you know, that's the legacy for you guys. That's the, hey, you know what? We were in the shit and we're not there anymore. And now we're helping navigate people through that, through that forest, that scary place to be, you know, and it may only be a lantern, right? But sometimes people just need to see a direction, and that way they can go, you know what, it's not I like straight lines, I like numbers and boxes, right? But it's not that way for everybody. But to be able to say, hey, it's your own path, but you can do it. You know, you're capable of it. Because I like you, Bob. I think you're the shit. But there isn't anything in this world that makes you any different or any better than anybody else. The fact that you've done it is a testament to everybody that is going through those kinds of things, whether they're, you know, family issues, or whether they're alcohol addiction or drug addiction or whatever, to be able to say, you know, you didn't have a silver spoon, you weren't handed anything, you weren't built different. God didn't. I mean, He may have wired you a little different because you got through that heart attack that you went through, or that event that you went through. But at the same time, you're just a guy, Bob. You're just a guy living who hasn't given up. And for people to be able to go, hey, all I have to do is not give up, and I can maybe be in a better place in the future. It's so difficult, but it's so easy, right? All you have to do is not give up.
That's a great way to put it, dude. And it's like, kind of the whole thing about all these things, these ideas that we have that we're working on, that we want to see happen. None of it may happen. But if we keep moving forward, what's supposed to happen will happen. Sure. Right? So I don't get bogged down in results as much as I do keep moving, right? Because I wouldn't have guessed that any of this would be happening. Yet here it is. It's happening. I didn't see myself working for the public defender's office. I would have never guessed that. Asked for it, put that as a goal, but here I am. And it's got me in an opportunity. If not for me, Jose would be locked up. Okay? So there's something bigger that's got a better view of the path, and I just keep moving forward. That's what we keep doing. Like this whole, we want this recovery center. It may never happen, but what's supposed to happen will happen. Right?
Yeah.
If it's not that, it'll be something else that is bigger and better than that. So the Surrender Experiment is a great book. If you read books, the guy that did The Untethered Soul, the Surrender Experiment, he just started letting life guide him. Life happened for 14 billion years and has done okay. It doesn't rain whether he wants it to or not. It just rains. And so when doors open, rather than getting in, letting my analytical brain, that half that won't shut the fuck up, have at it, I just walk through the door. And her and I, we got a lot of ideas, but none of them may happen, you know. But if we keep moving and we keep helping people, she looks at me like, there's that look. What's supposed to happen will happen.
Yeah.
Guarantee you it will. And if all we got to do is just keep staying positive, we got to know that we don't relapse because we're no good to nobody. Then some days it's just as simple as that. Just don't use today. You know what I tell people early on? Right now, just don't pick up early on. Then we'll start worrying about your emotions and your resentments and all that stuff. But just today, just don't pick up. So every day that her and I don't have a needle hanging out of our arm is a win for us. We're miracles, man.
Yeah.
We truly are miracles because a lot of people die from this shit. So every day that we're sober is a win. We've won immediately. So if we get up every morning and go, you know what? Thank you for another day of waking up without a hangover, or waking up tethered to a bag of dope that I've got to go get some more. If you start your day off grateful for that, you'll see more things you're grateful for. If you wake up and I don't know if I told you about the red truck. It's the greatest. I didn't think there was maybe 2 red trucks in George West, and then I bought my red truck, and all of a sudden there was 100 red trucks. It was simply because I put my awareness on the red truck, and I started seeing all the other red trucks. So if I put my awareness, I have to do it manually on a few things I'm grateful for in the mornings, then I see more things I'm grateful for. If I wake up in the morning thinking about how screwed up my life is, I'll see more examples of how screwed up my life is. It's really that simple. It's thinking on purpose. It's
right.
Thinking about what I want. I want to be happy, right? Everything we do our whole life is trying to be happy. It's we buy things for the way they make us feel. We do things. I want to do things that make me feel better. Helping people makes me feel better. Lying, stealing, manipulating doesn't make me feel better. So I thank God every day that I'm an addict, because had I not been an addict, I wouldn't have had to crack myself this wide open, and learn this much about who I am and what I want to be. And it's a blessing to be a drug addict, if that makes any sense at all. Somebody told me, my first sponsor said, if you'll stick with this long enough, you'll see that this will be a blessing. And it is a blessing to be this way. That's why I'm very open about it. Why wouldn't I be? I'm fucking blessed by it.
Yeah.
So if by being out there about it, you have no idea how many Facebook messages I've got. My kid needs help. I need help. What do I do? And to be able to be there and do something about it is pretty damn cool. And
it's exciting, man.
well, we just it's our calling. It's what I want to do. I'm not tired of it. Right by now, anything I've ever done in my life, I'm tired of it by now. I'm telling you, music. I was tired of that shit 5 years in. It became work. This doesn't. I do it all. We do it all the time. We never stop talking about it. And I look really forward to the rest of our life now.
One thing that I enjoy a lot of what you say, but one thing that kind of hits me and makes me somewhat reevaluate myself also. There's plenty to fix, but I like beginnings and ends. I like structure. We've been talking about that. But to hear you say, I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
We may end up continue on the direction that we're going. We may go a different direction. And for me, not being able to pay attention and being able to focus and have that, oh no, in 5 years, this is where I plan on. Now, I've always screwed myself because I've always done that my whole life and I've never hit those milestones. I never was, hey, when I'm 25, when I'm 30, when I'm 35, when I'm 40, nothing ever happened the way I wanted to, you know. And one thing that always stuck with me, and I think about him when things happen to me, in the sense that, you know, we talked about us trying to have kids and weren't able to have kids. You know, that was something that was kind of like, what? You know, you structured your whole life to sit in an office, have a career because you want to do this and you want to have this provided, and it doesn't come to you, right? And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, well, now what am I doing with myself? You know, I sat in this office for 25 years because I was anticipating starting a family, right? Mm-hmm. And so I always think about my father-in-law, because my mother-in-law passed. He's considerably older than what she was. She passed from cancer. And I remember him saying, this isn't how I planned it. Mm-hmm. And so when life things happen to me, I always kind of remember him saying, this isn't how I planned it. You know, I was going to go first. I had insurance policies in line for her to be set up for when I'd passed. And now those are gone because she went before me, you know. And it's funny because, like, that's something that always hits me whenever I have a life event, right, that I didn't anticipate, you know, and to be able to hear you say, hey, you know, I'm just going to go with it, man. And in 5 years, we'll see what's going on. You know, I struggle with trying to not restrict myself, right? Because when I get there in 5 years, whatever I've decided that I thought I needed or I needed to be, you know, and all of a sudden it doesn't come to fruition, you know, I get a little heartbroken, man. Mm-hmm. But if I just, hey, man, we're just going to keep going and see what happens.
It's the journey, right? It's all those old things you hear. It's the journey important. Don't stop and smell the roses. It's going to happen that way anyway. So you may as well get okay with it.
Yeah.
It's going to do what it's going to do. You have some say in what you do. And if you get up every morning and you go do your work and you can to expedite the process. Is that expedite? How do I say that?
That sounds right to me. Fuck, I don't know.
Expedite the process. Expedite.com. Anyways, I ain't a smart man.
Y'all Google it. I don't know.
I don't fucking know. But it's going to happen like it's going to happen anyway. So life has become, it's an acceptance thing, right? Recovery to me, acceptance. Accept where I'm at. Am I going to get better or better? Right? I loved it when that guy said that the other day. We can either curl up in a ball, drink ourselves to death, or we can do something positive with this. It's our choice. God gave me this glimpse without any doubt that I couldn't fucking die, dude. Quick. I didn't even get the whole, oh, shit. Oh, none of that. Just gone. And had it not been for the right EMT, the right deputy, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now.
You know, when you think about it that way, and you know, when we can kind of put ourselves in that position, it's like you're in a rare place where it's like the past doesn't matter. Does the future matter? No, not necessarily. Mm-mm. You know, if it happens that quick, if it can happen that quick, what are we stressing about?
Better just get into what's going on right now, because it may be all you have left. And it's sometimes it's so surreal, and I think it's so, the odds are so high that it would happen, that am I dead? And this is like some weird thing.
Trust me, if I'm here, you're still alive.
That taco was
or
good,
you didn't go to the right place, Bob.
Hey, man, I want to do another song.
Let's do one, man.
I want to do one that I wrote for my lovely little wife over there.
We're going to close out with this? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
This is our song. I think it may be the only love song I've ever written.
Okay. I'm going to say Porch Swing was a love song too, man.
All right. Let's see. I saw you standing there, no one around, so out of place here, the wrong side of town. So the bottom fell from under, I felt just the same when the cold hand of truth cuts deeper every day. I don't know what knocked you down, but I'm glad to meet you just the same. There's a cafe around the corner. We can wait out the rain. Walk away from your shattered halo, scattered all over the ground. You'll fly again. Broken angel I found. Every saint has a past, but there's a future for the sinner, and this too shall pass, like spring follows winter. And I'm no one at all. Sorrow knows my name, but it ain't about the fall. It's the rise to fight again. I don't know what knocked you down, but I'm glad to meet you just the same. There's a cafe around the corner. We can wait out this rain. Walk away from your shattered halo, scattered all over the ground. You'll fly again. Broken angel I found. Yeah, you'll fly again. Broken angel I found. Thanks, little Madison Creech, for letting us borrow a guitar.
Thank you. That was a beautiful song, man.
Thank you.
As always, man, I appreciate your time. I thank you for driving up. And we'll do another one of these, man. Once we see, once you get all your stuff open up down south, I think that's a critical resource. You know, things that y'all are wanting to do down there. It's crazy because, like you said, we don't. I do, but we don't want to move out of the area that we grew up in. You know, but it's nice to have those resources. It's nice for people to be able to go somewhere. Hey, you know what? Maybe if somebody has somebody they can talk to or somebody they can get some therapy, maybe they don't go to the bottle, you know, and because right now, not very many options, you know, and like you said earlier, I mean, whether it's George, West Rivers, Tilden, or Fool Hill, I mean, you know, it sucks to have to go into Corpus or have to come to San Antonio or go to a larger city to get help, you know, go to Victoria. You know, but when there's something local and somebody, you know, I would imagine there's got to be times where people that inkling to say, you know what, I want to stop today, you know, but I can't get to Victoria, I can't get to Corpus today, you know. But if they could drive down the street and walk in the door, that may be the beginning of something, you know. So I'm excited for you guys.
We are too, man. It's look, there's. They told me a long time ago, whenever every speck of dirt in my house is clean, then I can start worrying about your house being dirty. So we got plenty to do in Live Oak County. I don't need to run off to Harris County or anywhere else. They've got all those resources. So if we have the ability to bring it, it's our job now. It's become our job. We didn't apply for it, but man, I'm super glad to have it. I like it, and see what we can do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, on the job training, that's where you've been learning, Bob. So
lots of college. That's what I told that one of those prosecutors the other day. I said, when you hit your knees tonight and pray to whoever you pray to, thank them that you don't know what I know.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you, Bob. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Gabe.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.